Before we continue with the rest of the video, we could use your help. Click the like button to help spread word about Watchjojo animals, and also be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss our future videos. A farmer was walking when he stumbled upon the armour of a massive Ice Age beast. It's not every day that you'll make a shocking paleontological discovery when you're out for a walk, but that's exactly what happened to Jose Antonio Nievas when he went for a stroll on his family's farm on Christmas Day in 2015. The farm is in Argentina, just 25 miles south of Buenos Aires. But while discovering the holding may be close to civilization, the discovery that Nievas made was the stuff of the bizarre and far distant past. And to begin with, he had no idea what the find was. Nievas was close to a riverbank when he spotted a black shell-like structure in the mud. Naturally then, when he got home, he told his family about his discovery. My husband went out to the car, and when he came back, he said, "Hey, I just found an egg that looks like it came from a dinosaur." We all laughed because we thought it was a joke. Nievas' wife, Reina Coronel, told Associated France Press. The egg was mostly hidden in the mud, and so Nievas wasn't sure at first just how big it was. But as he dug around the strange object, he soon realised that it was huge, far too big for any dinosaur egg. Indeed, measuring 3 feet wide, what he had found was no egg at all. That said, what Nievas had uncovered was still a shell of sorts, just not one meant for hatching out of. In fact, it was the armour of a long-dead mammal that lived way back around 10,000 years ago. Yes, the armour belonged to a genus of armadillo family ancestors called Glyptodon, which originally roamed the forests of the South American continent during the Pleistocene epoch. Fossils indicate that the animal looked like a flattened-out version of a Volkswagen Beetle and weighed just as much as said vehicle. And even better, Nievas had found a shell that was still intact, a rare treasure indeed. In fact, the shell of a Glyptodon can tell a lot about the animal's history, and like a fingerprint, each husk has a unique pattern. Indeed, the shell is really Glyptodon armour, which was used to deter larger predators interested in taking a bite out of the herbivorous animals. Larger Glyptodonts tended to forage for many different types of plants, while the smaller species would have had a more restrictive diet. Presumably helping towards such conclusions, fossils of these giant armadillo cousins have been found throughout Brazil, Uruguay and Argentina. But Glyptodonts relied on their armour for another reason as well. Each animal also had an armoured tail, and paleontologists suspect that the creatures fought among themselves. To this end, each would have used its mace-like appendage to settle disagreements or even bash other given Glyptodonts into submission, with enough force to break the other's armour. Of course, though, any way the shell was used, it was clearly an impressive piece of defensive hardware. Indeed, it took about 1,000 1-inch thick bony plates to form a Glyptodon carapace. And to support such a structure on their backs, the animals developed stout legs, fused vertebrae and massive shoulders. With their hulking shells, it's been said that Glyptodon bore a resemblance to turtles. Yet, while this may be so, paleontologists say the similarity is completely circumstantial, or more specifically, the result of 2 very distinct lineages evolving similar methods to each deal with their environments. Curiously, in fact, the differences are more telling. For instance, Glyptodonts didn't retract their heads into their shells. Instead, each had its own helmet, in the form of a bone cap at the top of its skull. Interestingly, the shell that Nievas discovered displays some signs of damage, although scientists aren't convinced that it is the result of any past battle. Still, the shell does reveal some other interesting tidbits about this particular Glyptodon. For starters, the shell is smaller than usual. Talking to Mail Online, Dr. Bill Sellers at the University of Manchester explained that the carapaces of Glyptodonts were usually twice this size, each measuring closer to 6 feet. But it is very likely that Nievas simply found a juvenile, or perhaps even a smaller example of the species. And though many often rightly question pictures found on the internet, experts who have viewed Nievas' photos have supported his find as being authentic. For example, Adrian Lister of London's Natural History Museum went as far to tell Mail Online that it would be an ingenious hoaxer who would construct such a thing. In fact, it's the greenish tinge along parts of the shell where it was exposed to the river that provide the biggest clue to this glyptodon being the real deal. As water pours past the banks of streams such as this, it slowly erodes the mud. This in turn eventually leaves parts of fossils like this shell open to the elements, and the fluctuation in water levels leads to the discoloration seen here. Curiously, experts aren't sure how the hole pictured here may have developed, but it's most likely neither battle damage nor a normal part of the carapace. It's certainly not the hole for the head, as that part of the carapace is, in this photo, buried on the other side of the shell, deeper into the bank of mud. And the animal's tail would have been lower still on its body. The best guess is, then, that the shell broke more recently to form this cavity. Unfortunately, of course, we don't have any glyptodon running around today to tell us more. Along with a lot of other giant animals, the genus began to die out toward the end of the last ice age. That was around 10,000 years ago, and it's likely that the specimen found at Nievas' farm perished sometime around then. In any case, there's something sort of magical about Nievas' discovery. Stumbling across the incredible armoured remains of some long-dead beast while you're out for a walk sounds very much like the start of a science fiction novel, but there's an interesting real-world message here as well. Sometimes we forget about what's under our feet. There are millions of years of history buried just out of our reach, and the glyptodon on Nievas' family farm proves that there's much more of it just waiting to be discovered. So the next time you're out for a walk, keep an eye on the riverbeds, in the long grass and on those muddy patches where no one else pays much attention. You never know, you too might find the armour of a long-dead cousin of the armadillo. Stranger things have happened. Please do not forget to share this video with your friends below. Please do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell to receive everything that is new.